Food is oftentimes one of the first things to go because rent needs to be paid for, healthcare needs to be paid for.
Jody Bayless is the food bank's nutritionist.
In low-income neighborhoods, fresh produce, healthier foods are less available simply because corner stores and convenience stores are where people are shopping.
Many low-income communities like Sade Grace have few grocery stores. A report released by national anti-hunger organizations finds nearly 1 in 4 children in America do not have access to healthy foods.
Nutritionists say children who don't eat right and are undernourished have a difficult time concentrating and tend to fall behind in school, academically and socially.
These volunteers at the food bank are trying to help as many children as possible. But according to the report, the recession is making things worse.
It's a crisis that's affecting children across our nation.
There's not a lot of food in my refrigerator.
And it could be happening in your own backyard.
I'm like hungry when it's bedtime, but I never ask because I always know we need food for the next day.
This is a tough problem. It affects a lot of kids, and when you're talking about kids, you're talking about the future of the country.
Child hunger in America is a hidden tragedy.
The stunning statistic is today it affects 10 million children under the age of 6.
That's a staggering number.
And it's taking a toll on more and more families every day.
Sometimes I skip meals so my sisters can eat.
Being a parent now, knowing the expectations and the dreams you have for your kids, in order to get out of this vicious cycle, there has to be something.
And if you think child hunger isn't in your neighborhood or your schools, think again.
How much of a crisis has this become?
It amounts to a crisis in education. I can prepare a child to take a math test, but I can't prepare a child for the experience of being hungry.
Food insecurity means you don't know how long the food you have is going to last, and if you're going to have enough money to get more food when it's gone. But let's begin with a look at the new face of hunger. Maybe mom works 40 hours a week, yet still has to make a choice between rent and food. Or maybe dad makes just a little too much income to qualify for government assistance. In America, we now have a working class poor. When I saw this firsthand, I was shocked.
In a perfect world, food would be like nonstop every day, just 3 squared meals, and it'd be perfect.
17 million American children live in homes that are food insecure. It's everywhere. Just so everyone understands why it's serious, there's an educational consideration. It's pretty tough to focus on math or English if you're hungry. Secondly, it's a healthcare issue. Youngsters who are hungry take chronic diseases into adulthood, and you see substantially increased healthcare costs.
You may think the issue of child hunger is one that affects the poor in rural communities or inner cities. The reality is, the new face of child hunger might belong to the child next door.
I have 5 children and I'm married, and we can't find the work we used to have. My husband's a contractor.
Just 2 years ago, Bonnie and I were, making like $3,000, $4,000 a month and had steady work to go to, and yeah, just started dropping off. Now we've gotten so far behind on our bills that we've lost the house and there's just no work.
We recently had to move into my mother's basement, so we're just really struggling right now to just stay above water.
As a dad, I feel discouraged, at the end of the month. Got little children, it's hard to, sorry.
With a tough economy, you're really dealing with the new poor, if you will, the people that have lost a job, the people whose jobs have been downsized.
Are we at a crisis right now when it comes to hunger in America?
Yeah, we are at a crisis.
The face of America's hungry would probably surprise a lot of people. A lot of these folks would be considered middle-class people.
No question, Al. I mean, the people that I've seen, especially in the last year, are people that were formerly employed teachers in the service industry across America, and they've lost their jobs.
Like many Americans, the Byler family is struggling to make ends meet, and it's a battle they're losing at the kitchen table.
On my brokest week, I have no money to spend on food.
I love Cinnamon Toast.
Okay, eat your dinner.
I feel like the hunger snuck up on us. Just kind of, one day you're hungry,
I mean, we might be scratching for as much change as we can to get 2 kids' meals or something like that off the dollar menu or whatever, and just kind of splitting it up with everybody and then maybe give them all beans.
Sometimes I skip meals so my sisters will have another meal that I don't need.
I get hungry.
The stunning statistic is today it affects 10 million children that are under the age of 6.
That's a staggering number.
Absolutely.
Feeding America is the nation's leading domestic hunger relief organization. Last year, distributing 3 billion pounds of food through 200 food banks across the United States.
How many kids will Feeding America help feed?
In a given week, we feed about 2 million kids.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. The majority of food that we receive in the Feeding America Network actually comes from the federal government. They do a great job of supporting and helping us.
You know, it's important for folks to understand it just can't be the government. The government is part of the solution, but it by no means is all of the solution, whether it's the federal, state, or local government. Individuals have an opportunity to help. It's not just the charitable thing to do. It's not just the morally right thing to do. It just is economically the right thing to do, because if we have well-educated, strong, healthy, smart kids, we're going to be able to win the future. We're going to be able to compete successfully in this global economy.
If we believe that our kids are the future of this country, and I do, then we're at a crisis point. You know, when you think about the impact that children that don't eat regularly and don't eat well, it has a dramatic impact on their ability to learn. It has a dramatic impact on how they react socially, psychologically.
Well, when I'm hungry, I'm pretty grouchy. It's bad sometimes.
Andrew, his attitude can quickly decline over the course of a few minutes when he gets hungry. I mean, there's not a whole lot to look forward to when you don't have enough to eat. It's hard when you're hungry.
Vicki, in a sense, you folks are a food safety net for people.
We absolutely are. We're a place to go when there really isn't another place. We are right in the middle of the community, and so we are a place that the people that we serve know to go for help and assistance.
Every month, if we're in a struggle, we can go to the pantry and you can just get vegetables and soup and milk and stuff.
If I have to take Andrew into a food pantry with me, he's old enough to know what we're doing, and that's sort of embarrassing for me because he shouldn't even know what a food pantry looks like in my mind. Oh, but look, they have these yummy, yummy crackers.
It takes away my worry that there's no food because they will always help us get food.
We live in the United States of America, and when you're looking at Americans really grappling with an issue that is as basic as food, which is really the right of everyone, I mean, I think that's pretty concerning.
I've always been a believer in America. I've always been a believer in the American dream, you know, but take away the food and you don't have much left then, you know, not much left to talk about or be happy about.
This is a tough problem. It affects a lot of kids, and when you're talking about kids, you're talking about the future of the country.
Hunger in America crosses all ethnic lines. Of all food-insecure households in America, 53% are Caucasian, 21% African American, 21% are Hispanic, and 5% are other ethnicities. Next, we'll meet a struggling single mom. She has a job, works a 40-hour week, and still can't afford to feed her children properly.
At the end of the month, what's left for food is between $50 to $100.
It feels sad because we don't get the food we want. One thing I love is salad, but we never have enough money for it.
And if you think your kid is not affected, think again, because any child in a classroom who suffers hunger can have an effect on all the kids.
Hunger isn't going to jump up and shake your hand and introduce itself. It's waiting quietly, silently, in the classroom, almost everywhere.
Natalie Morales joins us with startling stories from inside our school systems.
What's going on?
Child hunger in America is not a problem, it's a crisis.
The economy has really affected our family, you know, losing our house and our car. There has been a couple days where I haven't been able to eat food or anything.
The recent economic meltdown means that now, more than ever, parents have to choose between feeding their children and paying for other needs. About half of the people served by Feeding America, our nation's largest hunger relief organization, say they have to choose between paying for food and for utilities or heat. 40% have to choose between paying for food and paying the rent or mortgage. Hardest hit are single parents, who are now raising about 34% of all American children. Jennifer is a single mom and an Army veteran. She works full-time and earns a decent salary. And still, she struggles every day to feed her 2 growing girls.
I'm a single working mom. I work 40 hours a week, sometimes more. I'm raising 2 girls, Ashley, who's 8, and Elizabeth, who's 5, which is a big burden with daycare expenses and that with working all the time.
I'm like hungry when it's bedtime, but I never ask because I always know we need food for the next day. Yeah, I'm hungry a lot of times.
This year's been the most difficult year for us. I took the car in to find out that's $500. Okay, how do I pay for that? And put food on the table. At the end of the month, what's left for food is between $50 to $100. I mean, it gets really tough. You know, being a parent now myself, knowing the expectations and the dreams you have for your kids, knowing that you don't want them where you're at. Food insecurity is not knowing how long what you have in the cupboard is going to last, if you're going to have enough in the next paycheck to get the next 2 weeks worth until the next paycheck comes. There has been times where here's a bag of popcorn that you guys 2 can split. Oh, we're still hungry. We ate dinner. We had popcorn for dinner, kids.
When it comes to food, I take care of Beth. I'm more like a mother. At school, sometimes in the hall, she's like dragging herself because she's hungry.
All right, girls, dinner's ready.
One thing I love is salad, but we never have enough money for it.
I do worry about whether or not they are eating healthy enough. They probably should get more fruits and vegetables. Busy, busy day today. Get your coat. I think people don't realize how many people do struggle because it doesn't look like the typical place you would expect people to be struggling in. It took me a year to go to Missions for All Nations food pantry. I was already charging groceries to the credit card. In order to get out of this vicious cycle, there has to be something. Let's see if we can get to a better place.
Okay, here's a form for you. If you could just fill out the front side.
Just have to swallow your pride to walk through those doors to admit in some ways you have failed.
Jennifer?
I can't believe I'm here, that I'm in this situation.
It feels sad because we don't get the food we want, but happy because we at least get some food.
I work, I'm making decent money, but if it's not one thing, it's another. This could happen to anybody at any time because you never know. You have one thing on top of another, till it just seems to spiral out of control and then you're in need. Free time's a lot of volunteering here and there for help and assistance because then I don't feel like I'm abusing it. Helping out not only helps the other people, but it also does help us with being able to take home those food packages when we need them. Do volunteer other places too to help make ends meet.
You can like see all these different people who are in need. I feel sad for them, but I also feel happy that they can at least get some food, some comfort. As long as we have enough, I'm happy. That's all you really need. Baby.
Recently, Jennifer got a raise at work of 50 cents an hour. That would seem like good news, but that put her into a higher income bracket, which caused her to lose government-subsidized childcare. Jennifer's daycare bill jumped from $150 a month to over $1,000 a month, making it even harder to put food on the table. Still to come, we'll look at the physical and emotional effects hunger can have on children
How does this affect the students in the classroom?
A hungry child looks like a sick child.